Welcome to Business on the Vine. I'm your host, Lady Jen Du Plessis, and in this dynamic series, we dive into the challenges, breakthroughs, and victories of entrepreneurs who have turned their passion into success. Welcome. Welcome back to the show. I am so delighted to have with me Deborah Myers today. And, we're just sitting here talking offline about the business of the business and how much of what we want to talk about is business and how much we want to talk about of, getting healthy. Which you can do by following her after this podcast. We'll give you some gifts and things that you'll have the links for. But I think, Deborah, one of the first things that I want to ask you is, how does an acupuncturist and a healthcare educator, right, move from teach, and I know because you're teaching self-help, but how do you move into teaching self-help, and how do you move your business and your practice into something that is more global as opposed to being the traditional brick and mortar that we see so often?
Okay, great. Well, first off, it's not acupuncture, it's acupressure.
Acupressure. I read it wrong. That was my fault, everybody.
No problem. You wouldn't believe how many times that happens, okay?
Yeah.
And the beauty is that acupressure is touch rather than needle. So it can be used on yourself as much as you receiving. And that's what I love to do, is teach self-help acupressure, because it does help anyone as they're searching for however they want to be and whoever they want to be as a bigger success in whatever they're up to.
Yeah, I love that. And, of course, I've seen you walk through some of this process on some things that we've been on together, on Zoom. So I know you have a lot of tactics and things for that. But getting back to this original question, what inspired you to go beyond what would normally be done as a practitioner? And to go into this world of speaking and authoring. Look at the books you have behind you, right? And being in the Los Angeles Tribune, etc. Why did you want to make that kind of a leap?
I love being an entrepreneur. That's what it amounts to.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been kind of on my own, discovering what I can do in the world. I actually started as a probation officer way back when.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is really unusual, right?
Yes.
And then I was a real estate broker owner of my own company for a dozen years. I was an insurance and securities agent. And through it all, I utilized acupressure as a way to have stability, as a way to have groundedness and centeredness, because I believe all of that is available. And when it is available and we make use of it, we have a better potential of meeting our goals and objectives.
Yeah. And in each of those jobs that they were very stress oriented, because I know, obviously, parole officer, and, me, myself, having been in the real estate and mortgage business for 40 years, I know the hustle that goes on there.
Oh, I know.
And you said insurance adjuster, right?
Insurance and securities agent.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of stress there because people want their money and they want it now and they don't want you to, mess with their money. So there's just a lot of stress, but it's not just in those lines of work. There are hundreds of different lines of work. And for those of you that are listening, right, as you're listening to this, you're thinking, well, my job is stressful. What I do is stressful. Maybe you happen to stumble upon this podcast and you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, and you say, I've got pressure too. And I know one of the things that is near and dear to your heart is working with children as well. So tell us a little bit about, and obviously this is because you were an educator, right, at some point. So why is it so important for you to work with children as well as adults?
I believe that when we give our children the opportunity to actually learn how to be better partners with their bodies early on, think of what we are allowing them to step into the world with.
Mm-hmm.
And as I teach them and have the opportunity to show them how to be that better partner, what's beautiful is that they then take it home and end up teaching their parents.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what's beautiful, is when the whole family then understands what they can do together. And that's what's also really beautiful, to go from the classrooms in the schools into the homes and show the parents and the grandparents and anyone else associated with the family to be able to be on that space of ease, of calm, of breath, of availability to do what they want to do and do it better.
Yeah, and I know that that's vice versa, for the adults that you're teaching, obviously they take that home and share that with everyone just to, get themselves out of that hustle, have some breathing time, have some opportunities to heal themselves if they had, an off day, because that can happen, to all of us. We've all had, why did that happen? I don't know what I did. Did I sleep on it wrong? Did I sit wrong? Did I step wrong? Did I get out wrong? Did I, get into a conversation with someone and it tilted me all day for the rest of the day and now my neck hurts, or, something part of our body just reacts to all of these external influences that are happening in our bodies all day long.
Right.
And I love that you're wanting to solve that for people. So, I know you have, the gift that you have, we have the link for a daily clean your house flow, right? That it gives you, it's a 9-step self-help, right? Acupressure flow that you can easily learn to just start working through your body. What is one of those techniques that you want to share with everybody while I'm listening and watching the show?
Well, the very, very first step of the daily clean your house flow, and by the way, I call it that, I wrote it 20 plus years ago, is because the body you walk around in is your house. And if you clean it out every day, you're ahead of the game, physically, mentally, emotionally. And the very first step is to give yourself a hug. I know that sounds silly, but just literally, lightly, gently holding your upper arms anywhere from your elbows on up with light, gentle touch. It's an acupressure area, energy balance area, that's all about breath. It connects with lungs, it connects with diaphragm, and it connects with heart. So as that opens up, it opens up the inhale to make more room for the exhale and vice versa. That in and of itself helps the body find focus, clarity, productivity, works the immune system to help boost it. All those different systems find a way to be in ease, to be available for whatever you're searching for. And I believe that when we give our bodies the opportunity to feel that state of groundedness and centeredness, we're ahead of the game. We're better prepared for whatever might come towards us and better prepared for whatever we ask our bodies to do.
Yeah, I love the way you explain it, because it's almost like taking a key and unlocking the door to your house and locking the door to your house. And so often we're locked up all the time.
Yep.
We're not even aware. So we're just running
So
around
true.
very tense, very pulled together, and this is an opportunity for us to breathe. I know when I first started doing meditation work and breath work and stuff, and I was in the mortgage business at the time. So I was in the harried part of the world,
Oh,
right? Is that when someone said, take a deep breath in, I noticed that there was a top and I couldn't get past that top until I had done 4 or 5 breaths. And then there was some kind of release that happened on that top pull that allowed me to go all the way instead of feeling like, oh, I'm just there. And then I'd go back down again, and
yeah.
just being able to release it. I'm sure there's a technical term for that kind of thing, but that when you're tense and can't take a full deep breath, that there's something wrong.
Exactly. And when we're doing these steps for instance, the 9 steps of the daily clean your house flow, you're connecting with all the systems to get all of them working together. The idea is to help your body be able to collaborate with all pieces and parts. Each
Yeah.
piece and part to be able to have a dialogue and communicate with every other piece and part. And when
Yeah.
that happens, then you are ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's like you're walking through the house and turning on all the lights to make sure nobody's
Right.
there.
And I love it that you
Right?
say it that way. I love it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
okay,
see
there's nobody there.
yeah.
Everything's clean. Everything's cleaned out.
Right. Well, imagine that your body is made up of rivers of energy. In
Mhm.
Eastern medicine, they're called meridians and channels. And along those are acupressure points, same points that acupuncturists use. And when you connect the dots and get them all unblocked, where there's no beaver dams, because if they get blocked, it's like each one of those energy balance points has the capability of being a beaver dam.
Yeah.
And when that happens, everything gets literally, like you said, locked up. And
Yeah.
then,
Locked up. Yeah.
yeah,
So, as business owners, this is, something very important because, we all know that, we're kind of skipping along and everything's going great and we're focusing on our business until we wake up and have a cough, until we wake up and have COVID, until we wake up and, have our foot not, swollen or something. And then everything focuses inward and nothing can help us on the outward piece of it. So tell us about a client that you've worked with that you can share a story where this release happened and what happened with their business as a result of this.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So I've been working with a woman who has her own business, and she is in pretty stressful situation with work and home.
Mhm.
And she had an injury. She fell and hurt herself. So there you go. And everything slowed way down. There was a lot of tension around what can I do to help myself. And yes, she did go to emergency room. She got the assistance she needed. She went to the doctor and everything like that, but she was still in that place of constriction, of
Mhm.
not able to get out from under all the stuff that was holding her down. Because every time she tried to work more, which is what the job required, she would feel the stress building up in her shoulders. And she did have an arm shoulder injury that affected her neck and vice versa. So she was a lot of hurt. And as we worked together and helped her body release the tension, release the propensity for the blockage to be there, the propensity for pain. Because when the body is holding on to constricted energy, it goes into inflammation and then it goes into pain. Pain creates
Well, and
more.
it also goes into your work because
Exactly.
everything is just, that much harder to do. And people sense that, yeah. They sense when there's something not right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so here's this person doing her best to do her job and work with her clients, and she's not able to do it
Mhm.
because to the utmost that she wants, because here she's in pain and it's being reflected. So as we got her body to release the tightness, the constriction, the pain, she was able then to communicate more easily with everyone in her life.
Yeah.
And as that happened, she was more productive and then she was more successful.
Yeah.
And she, by the way, is a real estate broker owner.
Yeah. Of
So
course
there
she
you
is.
go.
Of
Yeah.
course she is, right? Yeah, because it's so pain. I always describe business, like a tire or a wheel, right? So the wheel is the metal and the tire is the rubber that's around it. And so often in business, we focus on that wheel, right? We got to make our business good. We got to make our business good. It has to be good. And we're not focusing on the tire, and all of a sudden we get nails in it, the treads run off, we get flat, etc. And if we would just invert that, and if we would just say, you know what, the wheel is my life, my body, my relationships, my emotions, and the tire is my business, I think we would all be so much more
Oh, that's
successful.
such a
And
beautiful description.
thank you.
Love
It's how I describe business, right?
that.
When I'm talking to my clients, that's what I do. I describe business like that. But that's really what you're saying because it all stems from the center, and we have it backwards. It's all just I've got my business. Now I have my business. I'm going to work, 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 work. I'm going to sit at my computer. I have a client right now. I tell her all the time, your kids are growing up behind you because you're at the computer, and I see them running back and forth. All day, every time I'm, coaching with her, I'm seeing these kids running back and forth. They're growing up. You know how we always say they grow up right under my eyes. Well, no, they're growing up behind your back now because we just sit here all day long in these crazy computers, and work, 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 and then wonder why we're in so much pain, for the rest of the time. And then we start it all over again every day. So when you were starting out in this, I want to do a little shift here into the business side of things. What are some of the things that so speak to someone who's listening here who is maybe a practitioner, and a health practitioner specifically, and they're saying, hey, I just want to have my own company. I want to be able to make that change. What are some things that you didn't consider, things that you missed that you would have thought, gosh, if I could go back, I could teach myself these skills that I need to have before I make this jump into the business world of being an acupressurist. And I'm sure this applies to everything.
Yes. Wow. I bel I think what I had going for me was the fact that I'd been in so many different wore so many different hats prior to that. I
Yeah.
had the business experience, and I had um, a skill set, if you will, of how to work in the business. But I
Hmm.
think I would have done, I would have had more strategy in place. I would have
Hmm.
gotten the financial piece together instead of
Yeah.
chasing myself.
Yeah.
Just in the sense of having the accounting figured out, have a good accountant in place. If I don't have the skills myself, go and search for that. So you don't try to figure out how to do it when you're already in the midst of it. I
Yeah.
was very blessed when I started my acupressure business over 30 years ago. It was, I was immediately successful in the sense of I was busy. I had lots of clients. I didn't have time to go ahead and put my bookkeeping in place. I didn't
Hmm.
have time to figure out the strategies of what's next. I think I would have had a real life coach in place
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I didn't have that. So I was always felt like I was trying to figure things out
As you
after
went.
fact, after something had already transpired. And that would have helped me
Yeah.
so much, Jen. It just would have, you know,
Yeah.
hindsight says, I wish that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I talk to a lot of people, I think one of the biggest things that I see, and I see this with my coaching for people as well, but I mean, just generally that I see is there's something wrong with the sequencing of entrepreneurship. We have this passion that leads us into, wanting to give our gift to the world, and then we get tied or attracted to something, right? And that something might be everything social media, everything influence. I have to be on magazines, and I have to be on stages, and I have to be, I have to be speaking somewhere. Or we get attached to process and procedure and funnels, but we get attached to one thing that takes us down this rabbit hole, and all the other pieces don't ever get put together. At least they don't get put together in the sequencing that has to happen.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, if you go back, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go back to what you're thinking about, and for, you watching this, maybe your sequencing is off, that maybe, build the foundation before you start getting excited about serving the client. And maybe there's a fine line between that, but can you maybe speak to that as, at what point did you realize, wow, all this other stuff needs to be done, and how am I going, gosh. And that's one of the hardest things to do, is once you're really busy, you can't go backwards. It's so much more difficult
It's,
to do than
yeah,
just taking your time. And then I always call it slow down to speed up instead of speeding up to slow down. Right.
right on. Well said.
Right.
So
What do
I
you
think
say about that though?
yeah, it's a good one. What I think I would have done was it was important for me to be in practice with my clients. It was how I was going to pay the bills, to tell you the truth, as well as start making a name,
Mm-hmm.
a recognizable, reputable space. And I think I would have set aside time to find that bookkeeper early
Yeah.
on. Okay, that. And then what happened though was was always a believer in instruction of self-help. I wanted my clients to leave their session with me and go home, go to work, and have the ability to do their own work. I believe each and every person can do it themselves. We just need to be shown a technique that's easy to learn, easy to remember, easy to get around to doing it, because the benefits are noticeable. And so I was always spending time with that. It was actually my clients who said, will you just teach a workshop? So I put together a workshop. And all of a sudden, then I'm taking time away from clients, or trying to figure out how to find the time to do that, to be able to create the programs. Then I get contacted by several of my clients. Will you come and teach at work, at my
Yeah.
work? So all of a sudden I'm in healthcare centers, and then I'm in real estate offices, and I'm teaching people what to do for themselves, for self-help, for stress reduction, for wellness care, for boosting your immune system. And I'm doing all of that as well as seeing clients. And
Mm-hmm.
I was always kind of chasing myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I believed it was all totally important. So I made the time. I created. It would have been nice way back then to have the time set aside in my calendar with
Just doing
direct.
the research,
Yeah,
figuring it out. What do
yeah,
you need that isn't related to growing the business, but sustaining?
right. I didn't make, one of the big mistakes I made early on was I didn't have in my calendar dedicated time to be doing the office work, dedicated time for writing up the programs. And I was
Mhm.
trying to do it all without putting it in the calendar. Now that was silly. It was
Yeah,
really silly.
but let's be real. There are people that do that. Back to your comment about being that practitioner. When we become a CEO of a company, we have to look forward to when we cannot be the practitioner by choice, right? If we choose to do it, that's fine. But if we're
Mhm.
having to do it, then really what you've done is gone from a job to a worse job that doesn't pay, that you work longer hours with no benefits, right? And
Well, yeah,
and that happens to a lot of people. But some people, in your case, you were focused on the clients and that growth. But for some people, all they do is focus on the minutia and the admin work and the bookkeeping. And they do their own bookkeeping, right? They do their own bookkeeping, and they're not bringing any money in.
right.
So, I think each of us has that different path, and that's what I love about the show is that um, we're learning from one another. That's how we hear it through the grapevine, you know.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. So one of the biggest benefits to me was the fact as I was creating all the programs, I was listening to my clients. I was asking them, what do you want to have? What do you want to receive? What do you want to know? And tying that in. So I created whole programs that are all about stress reduction and wellness care and energy tips for this and energy tips for that. And then those same programs can be used as workplace wellness programs, ongoing workshops. And it was actually teachers who were my clients who took my workshops, who started taking what I taught them into the classrooms. And they came back to me and said, "Will you just create a real program?" So I was
Yeah.
busily creating something. And it was actually one of my clients who's a magnificent photographer, artist, who said, "I've got an idea for you." And she said, "Let's create an animated video." So I created an animated video of that daily clean your house flow.
Yeah.
Now that's up on my website as my gift to those who want to know how to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it works.
Right, right. So I imagine that, if I were to ask you the opposite question now, I said, what didn't you consider when you first started? What do you think is the biggest success that you've had, or, an action that you've taken or a decision that you've made as a business owner that has had the biggest impact on your business thus far?
Mm. Well, I think it was the last one I just mentioned.
I think
Was
it
that,
is too.
yeah,
That's
that
why
I
I was
just
like, imagine you're going to say this.
yeah. Now, is it financially impactful yet? No, but at the same time, I know it's going to go big at some point
Yeah,
because it's something that works. When the school takes it in and they start using it, they notice the difference. After school programs, the same thing. And my dream, my passion is to have each community be able to make use of it. The parents, thus the adults, the educators, and the students themselves, and everybody get on the same page to give everyone the same information at the same time.
yeah, yeah. And to help business owners, right, be able to manage their team and help their team, I mean, workplace, how do you want to say this? Health, I'll just say workplace health is a big issue. There's lots of white papers out there about productivity and how it decreases when everyone's worried about finances, or they're physically, right? And all the absentee days because people are
Yeah.
sick. And it's all because of other things that are going on in their lives. And if everyone, like start instead of, well, I'm not saying this in the classroom at all, because I want kids to be saying pledge allegiance. But in the office, so in the morning, instead of saying pledge allegiance, which you wouldn't do, maybe everybody does acupressure and everyone gets grounded and centered so that they can have a great day.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
The next thing I was going to say was that yes, I created this program for kids in schools, and it works in the workplace at the same time.
Yeah.
It's the same information. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I take it into healthcare clinics, carpeting stores, and I'm saying automobile sales,
Yeah.
uh, you name it, any workplace can make use of a way to help their employees be better at what they need to do to have the whole company be the success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so simple and it's so little. I mean, not little. It's so simple and so time effective, right? It's something that we can do all the time. And you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, so what's acupressure versus tapping, right? Because some of it's tapping. There's a little tapping in it. There's a little just calming and pressure and holding and thinking. It has so many aspects of it. So it really does and can be attractive to virtually everyone. So, some big brawly guy at an automotive repair shop who goes, yeah, my body hurts because I'm on, working on a car, is going to say, I'm not going to do this stuff. But when you can just do something very simple by, putting a pressure point on your neck, because you've done that one with us too, is a very simple pressure point on your neck, that nobody has to see you doing all weird stuff.
Exactly. When I have taught workplace wellness programs, I will show them how they can do this, whether it's the daily clean your house floor or all the other energy tips I teach, how they can do it with nobody being the wiser.
Yeah.
If they don't care that anybody's noticing that they're doing something, hey, all more power to you. But if you do care, or you have a concern until it gets more available to everybody, what's beautiful is to see a company bring me in, and we do a team, one of the departments. And then those folks start doing it and it's being noticeable. The other departments want the same information.
Yeah.
So all of
Yeah.
a sudden
Hey,
it's
what's going on
spreading.
over
It's like,
there?
okay, I want it here too, because you're getting a lot more production than we are right now. Or I'm noticing that there's less stress being, I don't know, just thrown out there in the workplace. It just feels calmer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing that you could say, if you put your finger on one thing that is contributing to your success, what is that one thing that you did? So, someone's listening and they're saying, what's the magic bullet? Your magic bullet, right? Because there isn't one, we know that. But what's the one thing you say, gosh, because I did that, I'm where I'm at?
Because I recognize that people want to be proactive and want to take care of their own bodies and want to be shown something that's easy. And I came up with it and I showed it to them.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that transpired and people realize that they can be the best partner ever with their own body, the way I love to say it, Jen, is the one person you're going to have the longest relationship with is yourself.
Yeah.
So make it the best darn one you can. Be
Yeah.
that partner. Find a way to have a conversation with yourself. I also love saying, hey, I give you permission to talk to yourself. Talk to your body. Get the information from it that it wants to give you, and just get out of your own way and accept whatever information is being given, and then give to your body what it's requesting. And
Yeah.
as soon as we're in that space, we are truly going to be better caregivers of our own bodies.
Mhm. Yeah, and here, what I'm hearing from you on this particular thing, is, I've said to some clients before, how dare you not share your genius with people because they need it, right? And so what you've done is you've taken this genius and said, I could administer it in a brick and mortar and just advertise and go to some chamber things and have people come in and have some clients and have a good life. But you said, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit on this. Actually, Grant Cardone says this all the time. People quit on money all the time. They make their millions and then they're like, I made my millions. But if you knew how to make millions, why can't you make million more and give it away if you don't want it?
Right.
So they quit. And I think we quit on our genius, hey, I made my success. I know I've got my little business here and I'm good. But you found a way to get it in the hands of more people to make an impact in the world. And that is a success all by itself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When it really became noticeable was before March 2020. I
Yeah.
was already doing online one-on-ones on the computer.
Yeah.
It was Skype. It was Skype way back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clients all over I'm in Northern California. I had clients all different places, not a whole lot of them, but I did. And when March 2020 hit,
Yeah.
I contacted all my clients and said, hey, I know this can work if you want to take a chance and try it. And
Yeah.
all my clients took the leap and said, let's do this. And I started seeing clients one-on-one on the Zoom screen for their ongoing sessions.
Yeah.
I was already teaching workshops online. I just expanded it. So
Mhm.
now I have workshops that I have attendees from all over the world. I
Yeah.
have clients all over the world, Canada, Hawaii, New Zealand, Europe, you name it. And it's that beautiful way of being able to get your skills out there and
Mhm.
share with people what can make the difference.
Yeah.
And that, to tell you the truth, floats my boat.
Yeah. Right. Well, you and I like camera, right? So we're okay with camera. I've been on camera for a long time, 30 some years. But some people don't, they're like, oh, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I need to give it up to the world. I need to share it with the world, get it out there further than, the confines of just my local community. What suggestions had you been given at some point in your entrepreneurship journey, that was in addition to video that you'd like to share with the person listening who's afraid to be on video?
Mm. I think the big one was, I think was about the advice I got was pretend that you're talking to the person right there.
Mm-hmm.
Just do that and see what happens. Take a chance and see if you can be comfortable. Start initially with talking to friends on camera and see what that looks like, see what that feels like. I have to admit that I did try something that was trying to figure out, one of my part of my school program is a school assembly. And I was doing that in person, of course. I mean, but all my workshops were workshops for parents, workshop for teachers were online. And I tried, after the pandemic hit, I tried to do the school assemblies on screen. It was really tricky.
Right.
It was really tricky. I sort of put it on hold until I could figure out how to do it easier. So I lost some timing in there. But
Yeah.
that was the only thing that really didn't get taken care of. The adults were more than okay at doing online for the most part.
Okay, so that's good news, because if someone is listening and they're saying, maybe my target market is children, and it can be, by the way, I know someone who her target market is helping kids get in, every kid get to college with a scholarship, but she has to go through the parents to do it, right? And so, maybe that's a struggle. Sometimes we have white knuckle approach in business, where we just won't let go of a concept that we believe so much in, right? It's just let it
Yes.
go to grow, right? You
Right.
have to let it go in order to be able to grow, yourself and your business. So I love that you are willing to tell us what didn't work too. That's really super important, for this particular, for Business on the Vine. That's what we want to know. We want to know the good, the bad, the ugly, the secrets, the
Right.
tips, the tricks.
Right.
So it's been,
Well,
go
one
ahead.
of the big tips was, I think as well, was that I offer a consult, a 30-minute discussion. Get
Yeah.
on screen with me and see if it fits right for you. And I think that as a business owner, that's one of the things that we can put into the mix, if you will, is a way to connect with people who may not know or understand how something that you are offering, how it really works. Give them the opportunity to check it out. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of being on screen. is you can have a 30-minute consult with somebody and then build it into whatever else is next for you.
Yeah.
But look for ways to get your information out.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, how dare you hold it back? You've got to find a way to get it out there. And so if you don't like video, try something else, and if that doesn't work, try something else. And, this is why it's so important, for me to share all this with the world, because I learn things, right? I may have an area that I'm stuck right now. And just interviewing people, I find out, oh, okay, maybe I should think about this. Maybe I should think about that. So this is why we encourage so many people to follow us and watch us, because maybe someone out there, you're not alone. And we feel like it so often as entrepreneurs and business owners that we're alone in this, and we aren't. Everyone's experiencing, something that we're experiencing, and it's perfect to be able to share it. So I love it, Deborah. Thank you so much. And again, we'll have the link to her free gift in our show notes. And any parting thoughts that you'd like to leave with us as we close out today?
Well, I would love to suggest to each and every one of you that you have the ability, just believe it for a moment, breathe it in for me. You have the ability to make a difference in your own life, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Give yourself the opportunity to do that and see what changes can take place. You won't know unless you try it, and build it into like a meditation practice, whatever words you want to put to it. If it seems really foreign to be talking about self-help acupressure, put another phrase to it and just see what happens. Feel the difference as to what can happen.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Deborah. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for listening in, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us on Business on the Vine. If you found value in today's conversation and would like additional support, go to supportfromjen.com. Remember, the best ideas are always discovered on the vine. So keep innovating, stay inspired, and continue to grow.